becomes a key factor. And what RBI does, many times RBI intervene currency market, especially exchange rate market, to make sure that there is no sudden variation in home currency. So when we are talking about home currency, basically we are referring to INR. And also as a you know main objective on keeping a control on asset price. So this is another channel by which monetary policy transmission we can observe. It will have impact on asset prices, not only physical goods but also on financial and other sectors as well. And if you remember, we talked about this is marginal standing facility. So when we were talking about various mechanism, so we talked about liquidity adjustment facility, LAF facility, and then within that we talked about marginal standing facility. So from 2016 onwards, if you see how this facility function, your marginal standing facility. So what it does, this helps your commercial bank to maintain short-term liquidity. So what we are saying this because as we have seen that banks are performing certain roles, and because of that on a given day they may have excess cash or they may fall short. There could be two possibilities. So in case of excess cash, there should be provision to park excess cash. And here also those who are falling short, there should be a provision to meet this gap. So whatever a bank is falling short. Otherwise, what will happen? All the guidelines that are set, it will violate. So basically, what will happen? Overall, your banking system will have extraordinary pressure. So to control that, this facility was introduced. If you remember, this facility was introduced around 2004 in India. And how it function, if you see here this particular graph, your repo rate, when any bank is trying to get liquidity, assuming that bank is falling short on cash, so for that they can go for this your marginal standing facility. And in this there is a restriction that this facility is only available up to 1% of net deposit and time liability. It means if the deviation is within the 1% of net deposit and time liability, bank can avail this facility for liquidity provision, right? Because otherwise, if they are far behind this 1% criteria, it cannot be used. And how rates are set, basically if you look at the rate, the difference between marginal this marginal standing facility interest rate is basically 100 basis point over and above your reverse repo rate. So this is basically your interest rate on marginal facility. So this is your interest rate. It means 100 basis point over and above your reverse repo rate, whatever is set. And the target here is your target basically is to ensure that prevailing overnight repo rates are stable. Basically, it based on demand and supply, you can see it can fluctuate because and how it will fluctuate because banks are involved in buying and selling securities, government security, because RBI cannot issue any security. But there are cases across the globe where central bank can also issue a security for liquidity management. But in India, we don't have that facility. So basically all the securities are government securities, and bank based on their condition, based on their liquidity status. If securities are sold, if securities are sold on overnight basis, then there will be flow of money, or it can be other way around. So basically this facility ensures that banks having enough capital as per the set guideline. So this is some, because there could be, this is very simplest form of, application of marginal standing facility in RBI or in banking system. But there could be, various different scenario where banks are taking, a liquidity facility through various channels, because they may be, falling short on liquidity, and that shortfall may be more than 1%. It means to use this facility, bank may go use another channel, and once they fall into this criteria of 1% of net deposit and time liability, they can exercise this facility. So you can think about, it's like it functionality of, commercial bank or banking system in India or any other country is not very spread. And this is, a kind of status, up to 2016 of how, purchase and selling of government security in open market has happened. And you can, easily see, whenever, especially if you look at, this period, 2007-8 period, where there was lots of, turbulence in the market. And that's why we believe, we know that whenever turbulence is there, especially when market is turbulent, so you have, you have market. When market is turbulent, definitely that uncertainty will be passed on to banking institution. Banking institution. Why? Because, market takes, follow lending and borrowing channel. Lending and borrowing channel. Because unless they, take loan, if they are fall short of capital for, various activities, and when they are going to take, they are going to take from the bank. And bank will also keep on revising their interest rate or their rate to ensure that if market is collapsing, at least bank should not collapse. They have to create, some kind of safety net for them. And that's why in turbulent time period, you will find, there will be some kind of, in equilibrium in terms of security purchase and sale. Here you can see that in equilibrium is very clear. Around 1 lakh crore of purchase, whereas sale of only around 10,000 approx crore, 10,000 crore. So that gap is very huge, and that gap tells you the some kind of indication liquidity problem in the market, because all the liquidity provisions are through buy and sell of government securities. And if bank is falling short, they will have different kind of buying and selling activity, and they have access. Then of course they will try to park excess cash so that they can enjoy interest on overnight basis, or till the point they park their excess cash with RBI, or they park through other channels. So this is, one kind of, interesting characteristic or statistics we have related to open market operation of central bank in India. And here, this is what we were talking about. We were talking about marginal standing facility. So we have seen that this kind of relationship. Here you have reverse repo rate, and then here you have interest rate on marginal standing facility, and this difference between this was 100 basis point or 1%, you can say 50 basis point here and another 50 basis point here. So 50 basis points, and here you have 50 basis points. And to to confirm whether that is the case or not, we can look at these rates. So as we have seen that the gap between reverse repo rate and liquidity provision through marginal standing facility is 1% or 100 basis point. So you can see 6.75% and versus 5.75%. At the same time, when we compare your repo rate with your standing facility, marginal standing facility interest rate, it is around 50 basis point. So it ensures that that criteria which was set, it is followed. And this is this is basically for short-term liquidity management. MSF is basically short-term liquidity management. Otherwise, in general, you will find transaction through repo and reverse repo rate, basically buying security and selling government security. So this is normal way, but if they fall short of liquidity, then liquidity adjusts under various instruments that are available under LAF, liquidity adjustment facility. It is used by commercial banks. Now, as a role of central bank, RBI also issues currency, and generally in India we follow your currency based on asset. So as per the RBI guideline, RBI can issue currency. There is no limit, but if more currency is issued, of course there will be several consequences in economy. Why? Because there will be inflation, more money will be available in economy, and then it will have adverse impact on inflation and other activity. And generally, what happens? It is issued based on reserve, and as per guideline, RBI has to maintain at any point of time total reserve of around 200 crores. And out of 200 crore, at least 115 crore of worth of gold, and then remaining could be foreign currency, foreign reserve you can. So this is how RBI has to maintain, and with this RBI can issue notes, especially currency. And generally whenever we consider coins, issuing coins is the role of government of India. So coins are created, and these are given to RBI. And what RBI does, RBI introduce those coins in economy, because RBI having that facility. They have various regional office. Through regional office, they provide to the banks, and then banks can circulate coin. Whereas when it comes to note, or currency note, RBI print at different 6 locations are there. It is printed and then it is circulated in economy. And we have dedicated department in RBI. We call it Department of Currency Management. They basically, give various recommendation about the note security, amount of a note to be printed, and then issue department basically take cares of, all those, requirements. And we have also seen that Reserve Bank also perform, bankers to the government. Basically, it helps, your central government as well as the state governments. So as per the RBI, initial guideline, central bank, RBI is the government, bank to the central government. And whenever government is fall short on in terms of reserve, so what is done? Capital or public debt is issued on behalf of government, and RBI helps. RBI basically helps government to raise public debt, because government has to spend amount on various activities. And if there is a deficit of a budget, so what happens to meet the expense requirement, which are which should be done by the central government, public debt is raised. And what happens? RBI issues time dated bond or government security, or if requirements are of short term, treasury bill on behalf of government, and then government use that public debt or that capital for various activities. And also we have different situation for two state whenever we talk about role of government as a bankers to the government, Sikkim and JNK, because there are different set of guidelines. And to serve central bank, there is a criteria that central government should have minimum cash balance with RBI. It should be on daily basis 10 crore minimum cash balance should be available. So that this is like for us, when you want to get banking facility, you have to maintain certain amount of a minimum cash balance in your account. Exactly same kind of setup is there for central government. Central government has to maintain 10 crore on daily basis, and on Friday there should be 100 crore. So and why this kind of provisions are made, so that there should not be any, whenever it comes to the banking service, there should not be any distinction between normal banking versus banking services for central bank. And we have already seen that how market stabilization scheme works. Basically, this is one of the approach by which commercial bank can maintain their short-term liquidity, and that takes place again through treasury bills and dated security. So here you can see the RBI's role is to issue bond and treasury bill on behalf of government. So this is one way in case of required. So through this is a channel by which these instruments can be issued on behalf of government. But why it is being used? It is used to provide some kind of stability in the market. Why stability? Because when bonds are issued, you can, already we have discussed, when banks are purchasing, when bonds are sold, so it will reduce basically supply of capital, reduce money in economy. So basically this is a kind of controlling mechanism for excess liquidity, and it could be other way around, but here the way it is issued based on the whether liquidity to be provided or liquidity to be absorbed, it is categorized based on various facilities. If it is overnight, we talked about, a liquidity adjustment facility, or a bank can use your marginal standing facility. And this is another parallel channel by which liquidity provisions uh, can be, maintained. And also, RBI also function as a banker to the state government. Like, we have now for uh, you know uh, normal government, or central government. Same way, RBI also function, because RBI having regional offices. So through their branch, they provide various facility to the state government, because the state government also having own budget and various economic activities. And that's why RBI, does bankers role uh, for a state government. And as per state government, they have to also, maintain certain kind of you know uh, certain kind of provisions. For example, for state government, overdraft facility is only maximum of 14 consecutive working day. So what we are calling about overdraft facility means beyond their cash reserve. If state bank or any state government wants money from RBI for their expenses, so on a given event, it could be maximum of 14 consecutive working day, and that overdraft facility cannot exceed 36 days in a quarter basis. And interest rate on way and means advances, so we call it WMA, is linked with repo rate, because government has to carry out various activities, and that's why that interest rate is basically linked with the repo rate. And RBI also, now we have seen that RBI having a function to provide support to central bank and your state bank, and by issuing various instrument, they help in raising public they are raising capital, or issuing public debt. And that's why they are also eligible, they also maintain public debt on behalf of central and state government, and that is very critical part, because if governments are falling short on their reserve or on their capital, they cannot carry out various activities. To support that, RBI performs bankers through government service, so that those activities should not be stopped. And also, RBI or central bank is the core banking institution or regulatory banking institution for any banking system in any country. We have RBI in India that not only controls PSUs, public sector bank, but also also set guidelines for private and other banks. So that's why RBI or central bank is also known as banker to banks, because they perform various laying down guidelines, providing liquidity facility. We have talked about liquidity adjustment facility, we talked about marginal standing facility, we talked about MSS, your market stabilizing schemes. And we also talked about various rates like repo and reverse repo, and why all these facilities are available to support banking system. Banks should not fall short on capital, otherwise there will be some problem. And that's why banks are your central bank role becomes very important. And based on all these, various guidelines are issued. And why guidelines? So that banking system should be, functioning properly. Otherwise, there may be, a certain problems. So that's why, role of central bank in any country becomes very critical. And also, whenever we talk about central bank's function towards the commercial bank or other bank, these are the major focus. First focus is to enable, streamlining the various payment and settlement system. Because if bank is falling short or bank having excess capital, there should be certain mechanism by which surplus can be parked by the bank, and if they are falling short, bank should be able to take the liquidity from the market under various facility to ensure proper functioning. Second is providing efficient mean to fund transfer. There are various activity bank to bank transfer, and when individuals are depositing their checks or they are initiating any payment, so it goes through various channels, like especially when you are using IMPS or an EFT transaction. So if you see, all those transactions require some kind of identification. Of course, you may have bank in XYZ, you may have account in XYZ bank, and you have transferred to another ABC bank. So to connect two banks and ensuring that your transaction is foolproof and your beneficiary is going to get that amount, that network or that channel or mechanism should be robust enough. And that's why the role of central bank becomes very important. So that net settlement and proper transfer of fund can be taken place effectively. And also, bank has to maintain certain reserve with the RBI. So it enables bank to maintain their account with the RBI and statutory reserves requirement and maintain the transaction balance. And the most important part of RBI or central bank is lender of last resort. We call it LOLR in short. So why this is important? This is the ultimate role of central bank. Many times you will heard that your PMS bank in Maharashtra or other bank, you have a number of examples where bank failed on certain dimension or certain reasons. So what has happened at the end, your RBI or central bank comes forward with the guideline and ensures that everything is settled properly. And that's why in those kind of adverse situation, role of central bank becomes very important, or RBI becomes very important. And that's why we call central bank in any country as lender of last resort. Bailout many times when banks having critical problem because of either bad loans or because of some other reason. Based on the recommendation of RBI, bailouts or some kind of relief packages from the government are issued so that bank should not collapse. Because if one bank is collapsing, all banks are very connected network. If one bank is collapsing, definitely it will have impact on other bank. So there will be a ripple factor or ripple impact, you can call. Like it will start with one bank and it will affect entire all the banks operating in India. And that's why there should be a mechanism to keep a hold or keep a kind of control on trigger itself, trigger of uncertainty or trigger of this kind of risk. And that's why functional role of RBI as lenders of last resort helps to ensure that our banking system is stable. And there are n number of examples, whether you use US context, you use UK context. There are various examples where you will find that central bank ultimately performs LOLR role to ensure that economy is not going to be affected up to large extent. And as a LOLR, RBI can extend various facility. For example, in case of PMS Bank or recent example, if you pick, you will find if bank is failing, the main or immediate impact you can observe on depositor or marginal depositor who just deposited a few lakhs of money in the bank just to enjoy, just to ensure that their money is safe. But if bank is going to default on because of certain reasons, then this depositors, basically these marginal depositors, are going to be affected. And to protect their interest, RBI ensures that there should be some kind of mechanism by which depositor can be safe. Because if there is no safety for depositor, you can easily see that if any given country, if banks are not creating trust for depositor or participant in terms of your borrower or your depositor, everyone. So if that trust is not created, you cannot ensure that there will be any kind of activity, whether it is related to saving or whether it is related to borrowing. So basically, trust is one of the factor that ensures that banking system will sustain in any country. And that's why RBI as a central regulatory body ensures that trust or interest of depositor must be ensured. Otherwise, there will be numerous issues. So this is, that's why the role of central bank is very important. And another example, as we have already seen, that it prevents possible failure of bank. Because we have, if you look at if you examine right now Indian banking system, there is some kind of consolidation is happening. So why we are mentioning consolidation? Because there are so many mergers among the bank. So what could be reason? Can anybody tell why there is some kind of consolidation is happening in Indian banking sector? Yeah, students. Do you see any potential reason for this consolidation? Hello? Hello, Ritik, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Sir, it
so
may be due to the to enhance the performance when they are merged, or
yeah.
to cover losses.
How losses? Can you elaborate your second point? First point is okay, because if bank size is big or balance sheet of bank is big, they can provide better services to their customers. So what about second point? Yeah, Ritik, can
So
you justify second point? Yeah, Ritik.
yes, sir, yes. So I don't know, but I read in some report that's
So what that report says?
so it was a long time, so I don't remember properly.
Okay. Any other students? Because most of you are gone into passive mode. So there should be some kind of trigger. Yeah, Anuj.
Sir, sir, the most of the merger were in PSUs only.
Yes.
So it can be because PSUs the PSU bank's health was not very good. Even
Mhm.
PNB, SBI, any of them isn't performing that well. So maybe to increase the scale and the government should we know that there is a need to recapitalize these banks. So
Mhm.
to defer that, I think they are merging.
Yeah, so it seems, yeah, your point is, you have highlighted all those points. Consolidation is happening because of, one reason is to expand the base. Base in sense, when two smaller bank they come forward and they are, getting merged. So the available their size balance sheet is going to be expanded, and if balance sheet is expanded they can use their combined capacity for various services. This is reason number one. Reason number two, there are n number of banks who are not performing well because of various reasons. It could be because of their customer base, because at the end bank has to earn something, especially the interest rate gap between borrowing and deposit rate serves as a service charge, or serves as a kind of payment to the bank. And if you consider a bank like I think recently Union Bank, Andhra Bank, and Corporation Bank, these bank merged and a common entity Union Bank was created. And if you go and look at number of customers or a type of services they were offering, that were not sufficient enough for long-term sustainability. Because bank has to perform like we cannot compare private bank versus public bank, because public bank has to also take care of social service dimension, because they have to also ensure that all those government services or facilities, whether it is related to subsidy, whether it is related to opening account for marginalized individuals. So those activity has to be done through public sector banks. Hardly you will find that when central government decided to open account, there was any direct pressure on private bank. Majorly government bank like SBI, PNB, or other banks, they had pressure of opening accounts, so that all these scheme that government of India is running can be easily connect to the beneficiaries. But and do you see this consolidation in long run? Let's say if this keep on going, it will help Indian economy. How do you see excessive consolidation in banking system? Yeah, anyone? Yeah, Karthik, are you there? Karthik, we
Yes, sir. But
yeah.
this
Is
This
still
topic is
sleeping.
very new to me, sir, so I can't think.
Okay, so consolidation means banks are getting merged. So
Yes.
basically, yeah, if let's say three banks are merging into one, so earlier you had three banks, now you will have only one. So how do you see consolidation, or if I put another way, reducing number of banks in India? So how do you see its impact on various dimensions? Let's say if it keeps on going and at the end you have very a few PSUs. So what will happen? Any adverse impact do you see, or it would be more or less same story?
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, currently I see like two aspects. Sir, suppose there were earlier three banks which were
Mhm.
relatively small and like preferred by people of a certain geographical region. Then
Mhm.
there must be like issues earlier because how soon a person can get cash out of their account and problems like that because their customer base was small, so keeping that cash reserve all the time must have been problematic. But when they merge they have a larger customer base, so I think it would be now easier on the bank to maintain uh, transactions all the time and keeping the cash reserves. But now because there are less number of banks, if a certain large bank that was formed by merger it defaults, then a lot of people are affected simultaneously. So I think the risk also increases that if a single bank defaults.
Exactly. So yeah, because when operation of particular bank expands post merger, as Soumik has said, post merger operation if increase, of course there is a high probability that in case of growing NPA, it will create a pressure on the bank. But at the same time, because if you observe, most of these banks are public sector bank or PSUs. So, and PSU follow a certain kind of guideline aligned with the government of India's objective. And that's why there is to one way of looking this particular merger. You can think about when merger is happening, because all banks are following more or less same type of guideline. All these PSUs, those who got merged or new entity that is created. So there was no specific competition. Competition is there between private versus PSU, and within PSU these competition, even competition was there, but that was not as intense as you see in case of public versus private banks. So that's why put it is better to create a larger entity by merging two or three smaller banks, because you are not going to close down your what you call branches. So what you are doing, you are basically putting your all the asset together of two or three banks and providing, keep on serving to your existing customer base. So what happens? This is a kind of when we talk about portfolio management or investment. This is some kind of creating similar kind of portfolio, and that ultimately with diversification characteristic you are minimizing your risk. So that kind of activity we are observing in the banking system. So, we will have to look at like, we have seen there could be pros and cons of this, but it seems that the larger size bank, like, there is a concept, big to fail, like, too big to fail. If, any entity is, significantly bigger, then the probability of immediate collapse is less as compared to entity or a bank or institution which is smaller. And that's why I think government may be thinking about in this direction, that why not to create a large asset based bank that can serve to their existing customer, and can at least sustain based on their various operation, whether it is related to depositing, encouraging saving, as well as encouraging borrowing activity, or expanding their business, or for using various other instrument to ensure that there is a stream of revenue for long run sustainability. So because unless that is done, and it is triggered because of recent collapse of small banks, like PMS Bank in Maharashtra, you must have heard that there was problem, and various other small banks. And that's why when these kind of event happen, then you don't see any reason to allow smaller banks to do their services, because you will have to ensure that these banks should not fail, because if they are failing, it will create lots of pressure on big bank as well. Like because they are not only one individual having not only account with that bank, he also having account with SBI, or he also having account with other banks. So because of this ripple effect, which goes from start from one bank and it goes to another bank, and that cause a problem. And that's why this consolidation may help up to some extent to at least minimize this impact. Now, another role of RBI is regulation and supervision part, and that is also important. And RBI does this function with objective of protecting their interest of a depositor, and also conducting various guidelines and various procedure to ensure a financial stability, because unless financial stability is achieved, you cannot think about growth in economy, because ultimate growth, ultimate objective of any institution is to ensure financial stability, and that should result as growth in economy. And that's how RBI does the regulatory and supervision part to ensure to meet these two objectives. So when we talk about specific regulatory part, there are various, we can classify regulatory part into various category. Whenever it comes to commercial bank giving license, looking at corporate governance part, various statutory preemptions, interest rate, various norms, protecting small depositor, conducting periodic meeting and monitoring various frauds. And whenever it comes to foreign banks, more or less same kind of activities are regulatory activities are done by the RBI to ensure they are not indulge in any kind of fraudulent activity. Also, there are various financial institutions like Exim Bank, Export and Import Bank basically. Then you have NABARD, you have various housing facility, housing, NHB or SIDBI. So because these banks are involved in various developmental activity, they do provide credit, whether it is related to agriculture, or whether it is related to small industry, or whether it is related to housing finance. So RBI, because these institutions are also very critical in terms of their services. So RBI do monitoring for all these institutions. And also apart from this, we have rural bank and regional bank. They are also under the supervision of central bank. And right now you can see, there are various rural institutions, around 95,000. at different locations. And also, basically, primary dealers also controls or give guideline to primary dealers. So who are primary dealers? Basically, primary dealers are allowed to buy and sell, government security. Primary dealer could be banks as well, remember, because banks are also performing buying and selling of activity. So banks are primary dealer, or you have institutional buyers. They are into this. We also have non-banking financial institutions or companies. RBI also does regulatory and supervision part to that. And apart from that, RBI also, very often support financial market through various direct intervention in forex market or foreign exchange market, or through various buying and selling of government securities. And right now, I would suggest you to go and see GSAP program. In April, RBI has started. GSAP means your government security acquisition program. So basically, if you go and look, news around April 2021, there you will find RBI has decided to purchase. Even yesterday, if you remember, we have talked about. So it would be better if you can read some article on recent GSAP program and you compare this with quantitative easing that has happened in US, UK. It has also happened in Australia and Japan. So you try to read these two. What is GSAP program and why there is a debate on GSAP versus quantitative easing. So I think a few more slides are there. We will discuss in next week. So we will conclude our session here for today. And if you have any question, we can take it. Otherwise, we will conclude this week's session. Yeah, students, do you have any specific question? Any questions so far? Okay, fine. So we are concluding today's session, and next week there will be a quiz or one assignment would be given to you. Right. So make sure I'll email you by Sunday or Monday, and if you have a quiz, it will be on Wednesday or Thursday. So I'll let you know because I have requested Moodle team to create an account. Once account is created for you on Moodle platform, there will be a quiz on Wednesday. Fine. So, and I'll be sharing all, this slide, I'll put it, and whatever two, three slides are left, we will quickly cover. Basically, these slides are nothing but, some kind of statistics. And here, one slide I have kept to differentiate, central bank, Indian central bank versus, other countries' central bank functionality. So I'll update, I'll save this slide for your reference, and make sure next week, you are available for quiz. Fine. So I'm closing session, and we will meet next week. Thank you.
Sir, everything taught till now will be in the syllabus.